I haven't really said anything about it since, I believe, episode 24, back in beginning of September, when we had decided to stop actively trying to get pregnant. Well, in this episode, I'm going to update you because, you know, life moves fast and furiously and beautifully, and a lot has happened since then. A quick little recap. I have an 8-year-old son. He's like 8.5. Had to have help getting pregnant with him because at the time I didn't know that I had endometriosis and Crohn's disease and all that fun stuff that I know now, which is also in an episode I recorded a few weeks ago if you are interested in any of that. But to get pregnant with my son, my then husband and I tried for close to a year and then went in, and the doctor kind of just assumed that I maybe struggled ovulating on my own. And I got pregnant, boom, the first time. Worked out. Like, you know, took the one pill to force my period, took the next pill to aid in my ovulation, went and got the trigger shot in the butt to make sure I like released the eggs that were built up, and they did a little ultrasound to make sure. And then, you know, went home, had sex, and boom, there was my son. Fast forward years later, in 2018, when I had been a single parent for about a year, I noticed that I had like this big old mass kind of on the left side of my lower abdominal area. I was doing purebred, I was in really great shape at that point, and I'm like, I have this like bump in my lower left side and I'm not pregnant. So I go in, I have a really detailed episode about this if you want to hear the ridiculous stories that go along with this experience, because holy hell. But essentially, they found out that I had a grapefruit size. They thought it was a tumor at the time. They went in a month later laparoscopically, which is how a lot of women have to find out they have endometriosis. You can't always tell. Matter of fact, a lot of times they can't tell just from a vaginal ultrasound. But it ended up being, when I woke up and came to, a giant endometrioma, like an 11 centimeter endometrioma, which is basically like when you have endometriosis, you don't fully shed the lining of your uterus every cycle. And so, you know, it's got to collect somewhere. And in my case, it was collecting on my left ovary. Then ironically enough, when my husband and I, so we got married in Greece a little over a year ago now, it was 2021. We were married in Eos, Greece. And that's when we started trying to, you know, grow our family. And that's when my cycle started getting wonky. I'm like, seriously? So I started having closer to 40 some day cycles. And then for the fun of it, my period decided to peace out for like 2 months. I think it was like I didn't have a period in February and March, I want to say. And then it came back in April and said a quick hey. And then that's when we sort of started to slightly involve the doctors again. Went into the doctor in May, got in with, you know, a phenomenal fertility specialist here just to talk. I didn't want to jump into anything. I just wanted to talk. You know, I'm a lot different than when I got pregnant the first time. So went in to try and get pregnant with Jamin at 25. I am now 34 years old and I'm doing things a little bit differently. Ironically enough, even though I'm quite a bit older, I'm not in as much of a hurry as I was in my 20s, which is hilarious. We go in and they're like, okay, do you want to like talk about IVF and IUI? I was like, no, not yet. I just kind of want to hear all my options and, you know, see what to do. And so what we did decide to do was to get my tube examined, because since I have endometriosis and I only have the one ovary and the one tube, on the right side, if my tube is clogged or blocked up completely, like there's no little semens that are gonna get through there to, you know, meet my egg and make the magic of a baby. And so we went in June and had my tube test done. You know, go in, they shove the dye up there and they see if it gets there clearly, you know, if it's clogged a little bit. Well, what we found out is mine is, how did he say it? Like glowing and flowing? I don't know. It was wide open. And so we're like, cool, well, we have a lot of travel planned for the summer. And so we're just gonna, you know, maybe try naturally on our own. Because actually after you do those tests, it increases your chances of getting pregnant by like 25% or something rather. Because it, you know, clears your tube out nicely, even if it wasn't really gunky. And mind you also, my husband has had his little spermies tested. Obviously didn't get pregnant in June, July, August. Have a period September 3rd. And then it disappears again. We were just enjoying things. We really started to let go of this control and of this expectation and of this timeline. If you are someone who is going through something similar and you are also a woman in your 30s starting to flirt with your mid 30s, it is hard. It's hard not to constantly be doing that math in your head. But I promise you, when you like give yourself a moment and take a break and realize that so much of this is also energy, and stressing about it and putting pressure on yourself is one of the worst things that we can do. The more that you can zoom out, take a breath, know that everything in divine timing is going to happen for you. it helps ease up a little bit. Well, October ended up being a pretty fucking stressful month. You can see that in my homeschool episode. It's called, like, I guess that we're homeschooling. We got shoved into homeschooling. While it's fitting now, it was a huge surprise at the time. We're 99% positive that the reason that my period just skipped last month, which I just had confirmed by the doctor I spoke with today, were my stress levels were just off the charts in October. I have been able to relax and take deep breaths and calm my body back down. And guess what happened? My period started. So I'm on day 3 of my period right now. So yeah, actually the doctor called last week because I'm like, Torin, I don't know what is going on. We actually legit thought for probably a few days that I was 2 months pregnant and the urine tests just weren't detecting it. So I took a few in the beginning of October. It was actually right around our 1-year anniversary, and shocker, they said no. So I was like, okay, well, guess I'm not pregnant. Well, then my period didn't come, and my period didn't come, and my period didn't come, and my period didn't come. And I just attributed it to an increased level of cortisol from the stress, which, you know, fucks with your estrogen, and didn't take any more P tests until recently, because then I started having all these fun pregnancy symptoms, like ones that were, you know, even more specific to when I was pregnant with Jamin. Well, then of course I went down this rabbit hole, and I was like, oh my God, I think I might be pregnant with twins. Like that could explain, you know, the extreme weight gain. And so I'm actually very thankful that my period did start on Sunday, you know, to kind of like give me some time to be like, okay, no, April, you're not pregnant. It's not ready yet. Your body was in a heavy amount of, you know, stress, and now it's releasing. Yeah, of course it's disappointing. And yet the more that I can trust myself and the more that I can trust this process and timing, the more I can relax. And the less guilt that I feel, the less pressure, just all of it. I am a huge believer in, of course, you know, there's the goal of getting pregnant, and I want to make sure my body is in the best possible health it can be. And, you know, our body sends us signs. And if mine isn't having a regular cycle or it's having all these other symptoms, I want to make sure that everything's okay and it's not something beyond stress. And we did an ultrasound just in case, because again, in past episodes, I go into more detail about this, but I've had a few different ultrasounds showing, you know, more simple cysts on my only remaining ovary on my right, and also a growing endometrioma. There is a new one growing on my right ovary because it has to collect somewhere. And she saw nothing to be of, you know, extreme concern because it was day 3 of my period. What can happen if this is what we decide we want to do next? Now, we know my tube is open. We know Torin's spermies are good. The part that is getting more difficult is I have Crohn's disease, I have endometriosis, and my ovulation and my cycles are not consistent. We're pretty confident that my body can get pregnant naturally. It's a matter of like bringing it together at that perfect timing. My husband and I, we were laying there one night. I think it was cold outside and the fireplace was on, and I was cuddled up with my heating blanket, and it just kind of hit me. And I called him over. I was like, you know, come like when we're starting to flirt with winter, I'm okay with looking into IUI and with looking into the trigger shot. And I swear it's like this weight just suddenly fell off of him, and he seems so much lighter and so excited. We are obviously going to still try on our own in November, and then 2 different things can happen in December. If my, you know, period comes in December and we're good to go, I call the office on day 1, I let them know, and then on day 3, it sounds like I start taking that again, medicine, supplement, however you want to word it, to aid in my ovulation. I go in, get an ultrasound, check up how many eggs I've built up, and I have the trigger shot, and then we go in for the IUI. Being holistic and organic and natural as possible, it was a lot of pressure and it was becoming really stressful. Understanding and seeing that there is a time, you know, and a place to try out new things. And everyone is different. Every body, every story, every family needs to make their own decision and figure out what's best for them. I have accepted and okay with still getting help. I can still work on healing my body and mending my body, you know, while getting help as well. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. And just know it's your story, it's your life, and what you decide or what you feel, you know, your head's gonna tell you some shit. Feel into your body and, you know, go in whatever direction feels best. taking a breath and trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting the timing. Stop doing that fucking math in your head like I know you're doing. And that's all that I'll say. That's all that I'll say. The rest of it is, all you know best.